There's a famous saying that every child deserves a parent, but not every parent deserves a child. There's the famous case of Jeannie, a girl who was abused by her father as he kept her locked up in a room until he was arrested when she was 13. There's also Judith Barshi, a young actress whose father murdered her and her mother due to his jealousy. Then there is the case of David Rothenberg, a young boy who was kidnapped by his father Charles, and then he tried to kill him by burning him to death. But David survived the attempt, but his life was changed forever. All of this was done with custody rights and his own jealousy. Parents are supposed to protect their children. They are supposed to take a bullet for them. They aren't supposed to hurt them. But Charles was willing to do anything to keep David to himself. This is the story of David Rothenberg, the boy who survived third-degree burns all over his body. But before I begin, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and make sure that notifications are on as well. David Charles Rothenberg was born in Brooklyn, New York on June 18, 1976, to Charles and Mary Rothenberg. His parents married in February 1975. While his parents were married for the first few years of his life, their relationship soon grew bitter, and then they divorced in 1978, when Charles was serving time for forgery. Charles had a criminal record since he was about 18. The two were divorced at one point though. Charles was proud to be David's father. He would take his son to school on most days and even sometimes carry him. He paid child support to Marie for him and bought him clothes and toys. Charles would talk to family, friends, and other people how proud he was of his son. He even had a pager so he could go and page David and contact him whenever he wanted. Despite this, Mary said he lacked responsibility a lot of time and had a temper. The relationship between Charles and David, though, was good. They loved each other, but Charles' past and the divorce made things hard. Though David did love him, like he loved his mom, and loved being with him, David did not see his father during his toddler years while he was in jail, as Marie thought it might damage David. This angered Charles and put more bitterness in their relationship and custody battle. It didn't help that Marie was in a relationship with another man named John Shirillo, whom Charles thought Marie was trying to go and replace him as a father. John was a police officer, and he and Charles didn't get along well. Charles believed that Marie was trying to turn his son against him and take him away. He couldn't have that. So he made a decision. If he couldn't have David, no one could. In the February of 1983, Charles and Marie would get into another fight over custody of David. Later that night, Charles broke into a restaurant that he worked for called Lunch House and vandalized it and robbed it. Police were onto him and he knew it. He was able to convince Marie to allow him to take David for a week. He said that he had a new job and was closer and would make much more money, but required more hours. Marie was hesitant at first, but Charles told her that they would be close and that he wouldn't miss any school. So Marie allowed it. Marie thought that they would still be in New York. That was not the case. Charlie was taking him out of state and ignored Marie's calls. He told David they would be going to Disneyland in California, but he had no plans of ever going back. The two took a trip to California. Charles rented a room just outside Disneyland with a fake name. Supposedly, he told the lady who checked him in his son was terminally ill, and he took him to Disneyland as his final wish, as it was his dream. Over the next couple of days, they played video games, watched TV, and more, but they didn't go to Disneyland, which made David upset. Marie worried when the calls went unanswered, and when she learned that David wasn't going to school. She and the police found his apartment empty and only a letter saying he was gone. The police had a warrant for his arrest for vandalism and kidnapping. He called Marie and made a slip up on the time, revealing he was on the West Coast. Marie then said he would never see David again when they returned. So, Charles told her the same. Marie pleaded, but it was too late. On March 2nd, Charlie went to a store. There, he bought kerosene and returned to the motel. He gave David a sleepy pill just after midnight so he could go into a deep sleep. When he did the unimaginable. Charlie poured kerosene on top of the bed and lit a match. The bed lit on fire and Charles ran out. He watched from his car as the flames engulfed the room and exploded. He planned to let his son die. Charles sped off and rented a room at another motel and called the police and hospitals. But some people were able to go and rescue him, and he was taken to the hospital. There, doctors worked tirelessly to save him. Marie found out what happened after Charles sent a telegram and rushed over. The results were not good. David had third-degree burns over 90% of his body. The worst of it was on his hands, face, and scalp. Most of the hair fibers were destroyed, so most of his hair would never grow back. He even lost some fingers and parts of his ear. For some doctors, it was the worst burn victim they've ever seen. He would need multiple surgeries to help him heal, including graft skin. He had many supporters though, including his mom, John, doctors, and just good people who helped him get through these bad months. David proved to be tough. He wasn't going to let this destroy him. While his life was changed forever, he was still going to be David. David's life was changed forever. He would get over 100 surgeries over the course of his life. That included skin grafts, reconstructions, amputations, etc. Many of these were in recovery when he was only 6. He learned to walk again, use his hands, and more. As he left the hospital, doctors and residents cheered him on. His survival made him a celebrity in Brooklyn, with residents congratulating him on his bravery. He went back to school and gained many new friends. Of course, there was still bullying. He became one of the best-known burn victims in the States. He refused to allow his injuries to define his life. He was still going to live and enjoy it, despite the complications that now came. Charles would be found at a YMCA in San Francisco a week after the fire. After a large manhunt, he admitted to everything. He told the police if he couldn't have David, no one could. He also planned to take his own life by staying in the room with his son, but he got cold feet and fled. He blames Marie for everything, saying she was the strain in the relationship and verbally abused him. He was offered an insanity plea deal, but he refused. Charles got the maximum punishment at the time, which was 13 years in prison. While the judge wanted to give him more, as this was the worst case he had ever seen, 13 years was the limit at the time. He would go to Soledad State Prison in protective custody. However, he would only serve 7 years before being paroled in early 1990. Just months before, David and Marie pleaded for him not to get out as they feared for their lives. Both of them never wanted to see him again. His parole caused an uproar. For his own safety, he needed protection. He also needed to wear a tracker, live under surveillance, and was banned from Southern California, where David and Marie lived. He would eventually break his supervision though. In 1996, he was arrested when he shot a man with an illegal firearm. A couple years later, he changed his name to Charlie Charles. In 2007, he received 25 years to life for weapon offenses and other crimes. It still seems he's alive today and is still in prison. Marie would write a book of the events entitled David. It would be made into a movie in 1988, starring John Glover as Charles, Bernadette Peters as Marie, and a young Matthew Lawrence as David. David himself would grow up. He would change his name to David Jordan Robinson in 1992. He no longer wanted to be connected to his father. He would later change it again to Dave some years later. As a preteen, he got into skateboarding. As an adult, he would have jobs as an artist and a house music DJ. David always loved music, having an interest in punk rock when he was young. He worked at some clubs and loved it. He also had jobs as a rapper and a music producer. Later in his life, he got a job as a compositional artist, in which he made several works. He would become friends with other burn survivors and celebrities like Michael Jordan, Reggie Jackson, Barbara Walters, Ted Kennedy, and Michael Jackson. His friendship with Jackson lasted until Jackson died. He would always defend Jackson for his controversies. In 1996, when he was 19, he would visit his dad while he was in jail. He called his dad an imposter and not a real dad. This is the last time they would see each other, as it was closure for Dave. Unlike his father, who lived his whole life as a criminal, Dave made something of himself. He and his family and supporters would say he was just like anyone else. His burns did not make him any different. Dave would tell people he was a survivor, not a victim. In 2019, his mom and a friend named Mel White released another version of the book called David's Story, Burned by His Father's Rage. It still seems his mom is alive today. Sadly though, in 2018, David would get pneumonia and would die from sepsis from it on July 15th. He was 42 years old. Even though Dave is gone, his legacy lives on. He showed that there is life to live after tragedy. He fought through the fire, its complications, the surgeries, and its aftermath. He didn't let his father destroy him or become him. What Charles did is unforgivable. It's understandable that every father wants to spend time with his kid, but this isn't the way. David loved both him and his mom, and he would have respected that. If he had done that, Marie would have allowed him to have more time with him. She would have let him play with him, see him graduate, watch him get married, be with his grandkids, and more. But he was selfish and he couldn't have that. He didn't want anyone but himself to have him. Parents are supposed to love their kids and protect them. If Charles loved him as much as he said he did, he would have done just the same. He did come to accept his son and ex-wife would never forgive him, and showed guilt and regret. While the movie said he had a mental illness, some sources say in real life he didn't. He was just bad. The case would change laws and give harsher punishments for people who do something similar to this. The original book by Marie was published a few years after the case. As said before, there was a movie made in 1988. It's currently on YouTube and Tubi. Dave showed that anyone could get through the worst of things. They just need passion, strength, and love. Dave had all of those. He would help other victims similar to him and show them there is more to life. While he didn't get to live a normal life, he did get to live a fascinating one. That was enough for him. For Dave and many others, there is more after trauma, as long as there is enough burning love.